here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest this week. It's the turn of Mikey Georgeson, who I spoke to very recently to find out more about life, love, poetry and all the other groovy stuff. He is still is David Devant and His Spirit Wife, and is touring. Has another new collaboration and project, goes by the name of The Middle People, and this is with another artist, António Olaio. And this is a best-of that is coming out very soon. In fact, it's the 1st May 2026. I will put a link in the notes below so you'll be able to find them. This is the interview. It took place in 2 different evenings. So there's a little bit of a join, but don't worry. It's very interesting, very long, and very engaging. So take notes. I will test you at the end. This... After several minutes of interesting but casual chat, we get down to the exciting subject of the early formative years. Mikey, it's over to you.
Yeah, I think I've always been into records and their covers as well as the music itself.
Yes.
And I was just, as you're talking, I remembered there's a couple of things that sort of predate my teenage awakening. One of them is my dad, who was a teacher in a Catholic school, took me to visit 2 nuns who lived in a sort of big cottage on the outside of Bexhill. And I have a very strong memory of like us standing in the hall, and they gave me a copy of Peter and the Wolf on HMV, with Nipper.
Yes.
And so that has remained with me all my life. Nathan Thomas, who plays French horn in the civilized scene with me, I call him Mr. Wolf because the French horn is the wolf in Peter and the Wolf.
Right.
And I also have a memory of buying a copy of Danse Macabre, which was a double album with The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yes.
So that kind of strange, uplifting otherworldliness. And I remember the cover, which was, deliciously cosmic. But that was when I was a kid. But I did remember buying that album, with my parents. But the first record that I bought with my own money was What a Waste.
Right.
By Ian Dury. And that, to me then and now, still has that sort of ethereal otherworldliness. But I can sort of hear it through the ears of my friends and bandmates as more of a sort of Essex funk wit. But I never really, that wasn't why I loved it. It was just like, how the fuck have these people made this noise sound? And the sort of longing for this weirdness of what I could have been.
Yes.
Yeah.
So was the lyric already quite important to you at that point?
I think just the sound of the lyric. I've got better at analysing lyrics. But then it was all about the sound, because I've been borderline deaf all my life and should have had hearing aids. My norm was just for things to be a bit smudgy.
Right.
And that's kind of how I like music anyway, is sort of be a bit smudgy, not messagey. And I'm going to teach you about the Sandinista, is worthwhile. I'm not denying that, but it's kind of like Life on Mars is a way out of the alienation that the song describes.
Yes.
You don't have to fucking make a record that is alienation to escape it. And it's not escapism. Yeah.
No.
So,
I think for me, that was more to do with romantic melancholia and the idea of loneliness as well. Because one of the records that appeared in our record collection. Because when my parents got married in the 50s, they were very working class in the countryside. So they never borrowed money. They sold everything they had. And then things started to appear in the house, like a record player in the 70s. And a colour telly in 72, I remember, for the Olympics. But I do remember they got this album, The Top of the Poppers Sing the Carpenters. I don't know why they just didn't buy the Carpenters. But those lyrics, again, you know, I was quite young, but they really resonated, because it was just like, I say goodbye to love, and, you know, and such like.
But it's the music itself which is imbued with that longing and melancholia. So it's not just the lyrics, and I feel sometimes burdened by the fact that some of my best songs are in that frequency. And I was reading recently, you know, about the outsider. It's kind of a mixture of this kind of joie de vivre and a melancholic longing. And I mean, you know, so you either are that frequency or you're not. And I guess
with David Bowie, there was those lines that you just thought they were just great, but I don't know what it means. We move like tigers on Vaseline. It was just like incredible, wasn't it? Or Life on Mars. But then there was those elements in Changes where he's kind of, though he must have been in his early 20s, already pondering life and sort of his purpose in the world. And you thought that's quite a mature line, and he's probably hardly ever beaten it or bettered it.
Which one?
Changes. I still don't know what I'm looking for. And all those little numbers, which obviously, when you're young and you listen to them, it's up there with.
That's good.
Yes,
because I'm unlike you. I don't think I ever unpacked lyrics. So like, I really liked Strange Town by The Jam, and I liked their other stuff after that, but none of them got near to Strange Town, just because of the whole weirdness of the melody and being in a strange town. And but the other musical awakening was hearing Rock Lobster on the back seat of the car, 79, when it got to 39 in the charts. And it's kind of weird. It's like, I knew I must record this as soon as it started, and on the old radio cassette player.
Right.
But I hadn't seen them. And then you see them, and they're this amazing sort of eccentrically choreographed band who kind of made up all their rules about musicality and about how you should look and how to perform with complete conviction. So they kind of rose above their kind of metric of how good they should be. It's their complete conviction to this weirdness.
Well, it was interesting because they're from Athens, Georgia, aren't they? USA, the same place as REM. So there must have been quite an interesting musical mix at the same time. But you were only 12 when you got Rock Lobster. Then when you heard sort of Give Me Back My Man.
I think I was 11.
Right.
I was 11, yeah. And I loved Give Me Back My Man. I loved hearing that, but it did kind of not disturb me, but the sort of strength of the woman's voice in it, I felt like I was experiencing something from a grown-up place.
Right.
And that, to me, was exciting, but also unsettling. You know, this woman, and because a lot of people wouldn't think about Kate Pearson and Cindy Wilson as being these kind of role models of female identity, but their strength is amazing.
Yes. And what about Private Idaho, which is my other favourite song of theirs?
Well, I used to like Strobe Light.
Right.
And again, that felt naughty, you know, when I made love to you under the strobe light. Speaking of which, the B-side to What a Waste was Wake Up and Make Love with Me.
Right, yes, they're quite raunchy lyrics.
Yeah, so to a 10-year-old, that was it was very direct, you know. It's like, oh, well, what a waste, you know. I can get this. It's not disturbing, but yeah.
But then when you heard Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll, what did you think of that as a 13-year-old?
I like that, but I never got really obsessed. I did buy Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, and don't think I bought Reasons to Be Cheerful. So I kind of remained a fan of those songs and of them.
Yes.
But it's sort of ironic. The rest of the band were very into them. And so when we supported them, I always regret that I wasn't enough of a fanboy when I met Ian Jury, and, you know, that's...
You were just cool. I would imagine
been.
you were the perfect age for Adam and the Ants, actually, in their theatrical makeup.
I think I was already getting slightly cynical then, because post-punk and post-punk had sort of fired me in the crucible of, if it's, you know, like That's Ersatz and not for real.
Yes.
And so I had friends who liked it, but I was not massively into that. It was niche above Wham, but...
Though actually Wham rap is quite interesting, because it's really advertising being, you know, unemployed, being on the dole, and sticking it to the man. And when you look at those lyrics, you think, God, it makes Billy Bragg seem quite right-wing, really. He's just like, screw the system. I mean, Crass couldn't have written a better song than that, really. I mean,
well, I think a lot of my cynicism, aged 11 and 12, was quite intuitively based on this sort of, is it for real?
Right.
So, but it's, as I've grown up, I have more respect for other, you know, even Wham, like you say. But I did go and see Adam Ant at the Tunbridge Wells Theatre a few years ago, and he had a snake charmer supporting him.
Right.
But he was a really good guitarist, which surprised me.
Yes.
And he clearly liked Mark Bolan. It sort of all made sense. Oh, you're playing the guitar. I get it now.
Yes. You know. And sort of childhood times, because, you know, did you have any older brothers or sisters who gave you any musical direction? Because I had an older brother who was 7 years older, who was into prog rock. So you were talking about album covers. So obviously Roger Dean was a big part of his life, as well as, you know, Yes and Genesis and Wishbone Ash. Did you have any elder siblings who sort of directed you?
Yeah, I like that, because, I mean, I was thinking today, because I grew up with two older sisters. It made me different to the friends that I made in later life who'd had brothers.
Yes.
And I was thinking of this lyric, you were always more of a man than I'll ever be, because it's like my friend knew, like, blokes should like Van de Graaff Generator, and Patrick, who I was thinking of.
Robert Fripp.
Yeah. But my sister Vanya did have a copy of Starman, which
beautiful
was in our dining room with the big wooden record player.
Music centre.
Yeah. You know, like a cabinet.
Yes, beautiful.
And so I would play that and get that feeling of, oh, is this allowed to exist? We've got this. Is it as good as I think it is? And we've got it in our house, you know? So I would play that, because we didn't have many records. We had the Sgt. Pepper's and the Cop Choir, which was a recording of the Liverpool crowd, and a Bee Gees' greatest hits, which has that song, you know, I started a joke.
I don't know that one. I know the one about the mining disaster.
Yeah, but that one's good. And so when the Bee Gees resurfaced, all singing high, it was confusing, because the record we'd had was sort of more close to Beach Boys, poppy. Yeah.
Yes. And mining disasters.
Yeah.
Which was quite interesting.
Exactly.
So it was a bit, I suppose it's a bit like the Genesis thing. Were you into the Peter Gabriel, the Phil Collins Genesis? You were the pre and the pre-disco
Yeah.
and the post-disco bunch.
Yeah.
Probably a bit of fraction there.
Yeah. Again, Patrick, who was my friend, sadly passed away at the beginning of this century. He introduced me to those early Genesis albums because he was thinking, he'd seen Devant, loved Devant, he would come to gigs, help. And he was like, oh, you should listen to this. And he also got me properly into Roxy music.
Right.
Which was why I was so passionate about trying on Phil Manzanera's Bug Eye Spectre.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I could go, look, Patrick. Yeah.
So with your sisters then, apart from Starman, did they give you any other direction in life? Did they give you an idea of dressing up?
Well, they did kind of reinforce my love of the B-52s. It was like, oh, my sister likes this, so it must be good. I will carry on. So
Right.
It was like, what do they call that? Yeah, when you affirm positive affirmation.
Continue,
But,
hold the baton.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yes.
But, so I was born in Bexhill, and we lived on a hill, I think it was Martin's Way. And to me, it was like paradise because we had a little garden with 2 apple trees, and my sisters would have dressing up parties with the dining table in the garden and all their friends in silly costumes, and me and my little girlfriend Nikki, we dressed up and joined in. So
what sort of outfits were you wearing? Was this either Superman or Alice in Wonderland?
Cowboys and
classic
sailors. Yeah, nothing. It wasn't sophisticated then, was it? We were,
It was make do and mend, really.
Yeah.
But was it exciting? Because I can remember hanging out with my brother's friends and they were 7 years older, and they all seemed so mature, and their games that they played around the village were just always much more exciting. And
that's cool. Yeah.
All that kind of world, and it just felt like I really wanted to be with them. And as the little kid brother, I could, as long as I wasn't annoying. Did you have that same relationship with your sisters?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they were very nice to me, but I was always the sort of cute younger brother who could hang around in their atmosphere of female fun, which I enjoyed. Yeah,
I would imagine.
And it was only when I had sons of my own that I realised, oh, that's how you be a boy, because they were always wrestling and fighting and in a friendly way,
Yes. But yes, very good. So then when you got to 16 then, which was about 83, so you would have been the perfect age for a sort of indie pop, as well as, did you finish your O-levels and do A-levels at that stage through the 80s?
I did, yeah, but we formed a band, and the town we lived in, Horsham, had a venue called Champagne's.
Nice.
And they had local bands. That's where, and I saw the Cardiacs there, and they did the whole wedding ceremony, which totally transformed my idea of what a band could be like.
Had you had much prior warning? Not warning, but had you known the Cardiacs before seeing them?
No, not at all. No.
So for a first gig, it must have been quite an eye-opener seeing Tim.
Yeah, it was beautiful, very uplifting, and very different to, all the bands where you're like being a band. Like I don't know if your town was like this, but we had a band who were being like The Fall, a band who were being like REM, and then suddenly this band like the Cardiacs, who are the Cardiacs, plays. And because I don't think I've never been very good at copying other styles. I mean, I can do a good David Bowie impersonation, but most bands, when you're young, sort of copy bands, but I was never very good at that, so I could sort of just do my thing.
Yes. And did you, so you trundled through the 80s, did you then go to art school at this point?
Yes, eventually, and I don't know if I've mentioned,
No.
but yeah, we did used to support bands. With my band, we were called 15 Looks, which my dad actually thought of because it's Candle Power, Lux, but we were spelt like Looks.
Right.
Ooh, yeah, and so we supported the Wedding Present, House Martins, the Go Betweens.
Oh my God, this is
Yeah,
if only you'd taken photographs of all these
yeah, there
events.
might be some, but and I had two managers, both called John, and one of them was local, but the other one was he was a bit like a character from Brighton Rock, slightly scary
Yes.
and ominous, but exciting because of that. And he said to me, it's all about when you meet the press. That's what's important. I think there is a grain of truth in that,
Right.
but I sort of laughed it off.
Did he have any experience as being a rock manager, a pop manager?
I never asked too much. I didn't like to. He used to wear a trilby, and he was quite gaunt. And yeah, but they got us all these supports. And when I supported the Go-Betweens, they were playing with the Servants, who I went on to.
David Westlake.
Yeah, I loved his solo album. That was a big influence on me as a young person.
Was that the solo album that featured members of the Go-Betweens and the Triffids?
It might be. It had a song called The Word Around Town.
I think it is. It got released a couple of years ago.
Okay, yeah.
And it sounds fantastic. I think it was
Yeah.
I think he did a session with Janice Long, and
Oh,
the recordings have surfaced.
I might delve.
I would
But
dig, because
yeah,
I think when you hear it, it will bring back lots of happy memories.
yeah.
And did at that stage, had you met the one and only Luke Haynes?
I know Luke now, yeah.
But he
But
wasn't
I
there.
don't think he was playing then.
Right.
I don't think he was in the Servants at that point because I had said to him, when I was about 16, I supported the Servants. And yeah.
That is classic rock and roll.
It was nice. But I mean, what I learned from being in David Devant His Spirit Wife is that trying to be like those cool indie nihilists wasn't right for me.
No.
I mean, I had moments where it sort of worked, but I, I had to veer off into magic.
So during that sort of your period of the Chelsea School of Art,
Yeah.
it would have been almost the golden year of indie pop music from the C86 world. Were you going to see bands all the time at that sort of part of the
We
decade?
used to go to the Croydon Underground a lot to see, the Soup Dragons, and I did really like the Razor Cuts.
Right. There you go. Did you feel like you needed to find your Ziggy Stardust at this stage? A character?
No, I mean, this is the thing. I think David Demont and His Spirit Wife, which made me a musician, was a complete accident. Because at that point, I was going to just be an artist. And I'd sort of go, I was in a band, and I'd sort of play a little bit. But then when I went to Brighton, I met Graham Carlo, the drummer, and he was an artist. We just became a completely different kind of band. And,
Right.
yeah, because
So you did your degree at Chelsea, your fine art, and then you went down to Brighton to do your masters.
That's right. I'd had an interview at the Royal College, and did all the wrong things, like saying, I can't think of anyone that influences me. And you're supposed to say all the people that influence you. That's all you're meant to do. And
was your dad a teacher?
he was my art teacher, yeah.
Right.
He Jeremy from the Levelers has been very supportive, because he says that my dad kind of facilitated what he's done, by taking him into the art room. And
Yes.
yeah.
So was there quite a scene at Brighton at that point? This is the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. I think there was a real buzz, but we kind of, because we played the Brighton Festival, and they said you can have this gig and you can be part of the Brighton Festival, but it has to be a performance. So we had to make up a genre, which at one point we called Camp Victorian.
Had steampunk been invented by then?
I don't know, it was bubbling under. And again, my inner cynic was not really sure about steampunk.
Right.
My sort of, is it for real radar? It's like, all the big cogs and stuff. But, I had friends and people, a chap who is quite well known, Phil Reeves, is kind of part of the steampunk pantheon. He wrote a series of books called The Immortal Engines.
Right.
And there was a film directed by Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson?
Yeah, so Phil was at college with me at Brighton, and he asked David Devant to do the theme to his film called Deadly Earnest, which is around somewhere.
And did you do it?
Yeah, we did. Deadly Earnest.
Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, during that 80s period, just going slightly back there, I mean, there was the whole period of, Red Wedge. There was the anti-poll tax movement. There was the 80s was filled with this political backdrop with Chernobyl. I mean, you're slightly bit young for the Falkland War and the miners' strike, but there was still that sort of feeling of unrest, and the poll tax obviously escalated to the big riot in Trafalgar. Were you very political during that time?
Well, I was chatting to a friend, Frog Morris, because he went to the march on Saturday, and I was saying, when we were at college, going on a march was just what you did.
Yes.
So there was lots of things at the GLC, and I remember sitting on Westminster Bridge. Would that have been for the poll tax? I don't know, but we were just sitting.
Could have been anything, wouldn't it?
It was a thing you did, so it's kind of enmeshed into the student outlook, which I definitely don't think is the case that I'm seeing now, where that
yes, it does remind me. Was it Marlon Brando in the Wild One, where he's at the bar and a woman says, "Are you rebellion?" and he says, "What you got?" or something like that. He paraphrases. I've lost it in translation there, didn't I? But
are you a what?
Marlon Brando is at the bar or in a club, and a woman says, "What are you rebelling against?" and he says, "What have you got?" or some such line.
Oh, that's a great line, isn't it?
So it was a bit like you thinking, it's Saturday, what are we going to be marching against this week?
Yeah.
It's that thing.
But I think that I can get, I'm sort of down with that. It's like, because that, it's the realm we inhabit of the orthodox thinking that,
and it's also the counterculture, isn't it, of society? It's what one should be doing or could be doing. But then at that same time, you would have been that perfect period of, like the dope smoking, possible ecstasy, lots of drinking. Did you sort of navigate that world quite well during the tricky 80s and 90s, or the teens and 20s?
It's interesting because I know a few people who all think I must have imbibed lots and lots of drugs because of my rock and roll journey. But I remember I was at college at Chelsea, and we were walking over Albert Bridge, and there was a packet on the floor, big packet, and it was addressed, and we thought, oh no, we'll open it, and it had a big brick of Moroccan black in, and my college mates then kind of smoked that over the following year, but I never touched it. So it was only much later in life that I found that it does have medicinal qualities. Yeah.
And what about, like, the Ouija board, did that ever appear on your student period?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Did,
because I'm a
did you
Catholic,
go through an Aleister Crowley phase?
I mean, as a kid growing up, my Uncle Tom sadly died about a week ago. He's quite a well-known actor, Tom Georgeson. His kids drew me into that sort of shady, imaginative realm of the dark, shadowy side. So whenever we went to their house, we'd play games like that. And I think that was a big influence on David Devant and His Spirit Wife.
Right.
You know, we'd like black out a room and each go in and think of something weird to do, and then one of us would have to go into the room and experience it. And they'd have all sorts of funny books. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I remember there was one funeral and the adults had a seance and the kids were playing spooky games. But I don't think it was ever mentioned. But, you know, as I say, I was quite a safe Catholic good boy. I wasn't completely, I didn't think I was brainwashed, but it would mean that I would not touch a Ouija board because, like, don't do that. It's not a good thing to do.
Right. Yes.
When I stayed with a friend recently, Blossom, who's a friend of David Devant, the Spirit Wife, she was in LA and looked through her games cupboard, and she had the sort of branded Ouija board, which, so in America it's like Monopoly. So should we play Monopoly, Cluedo, or Ouija? And, which I love, you know. So it's like a game for kids.
God,
Really
that would be
cool.
very disturbing, wasn't it? That was incredibly. And did
Yeah.
I mean, again, I know harking back about that period, but there were, you know, again, your age, our ages, although you're a bit younger, but there was the kind of the classic kind of 80s films like, you know, Wings of Desire, Betty Blue Diva, the
Yeah.
Jim Jarmusch movies, you know, Stranger Than Paradise and Down by Law. Were you also engrossed in film at that stage, being an art school
I
student?
definitely enjoyed it, and Blue Velvet remains, you know, it was a massive influence on that resurfaced in David Devant and His Spirit Wife. And again, it was a bit like Starman. We went to see it, and I thought, oh, this is like a sort of mainstream film and cheesy, but I can tell it isn't. So it was constantly making it difficult to know what it was. And that's something that I really enjoy. And of course, Dean Stockwell singing into a work mic to Roy Orbison, that was a seminal moment for me, you know,
Right.
which kind of germinated and then came back, because I think in a way, as the vessel, I am sort of miming to myself in real life as it comes out, you know, because that was some of the best singing performance that I've seen, that Dean Stockwell.
Yes.
Partly because Roy Orbison is so amazing, and you know, so as well as Bowie, I guess Roy Orbison helped me find my voice.
Yes.
You know, it's got that longing, hasn't it? You know.
And in the 80s, he did have a massive single, didn't he? I remember John
Yeah.
Peel playing anything. Is it any time?
Anything you want.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
it was a classic. So then you're
Yeah.
in Brighton, and this is the start of the band.
Yeah.
So how does it start? The Brighton Festival, is this the same as or what is still the Brighton Festival, or is it changed?
Yeah, no, it's the same. Yeah. And I think the next year we were like the cover stars, which is good because there was like a picture of us in the Brighton Pavilion. So Brighton really worked for us, you know, the way this sort of mix of vaudevillian, esoterica, exoticism, magic, it landed well. I mean, we didn't plan it and think, oh, this will be good for Brighton. But
You captured it. I guess, were you the only band at that time doing such a thing?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the weird. I guess it's weird. We knew other artists, and there were lots of studios with fine artists in, but there wasn't really anyone. I don't. It's like we didn't wait for permission to do this thing, which was like a sort of mix of musical, art, pop, and
Yes. So this was you and Foz, who was the ex-guitarist of Monochrome Set.
Yes.
And then from Brighton, did you then relocate to London?
Well, as I say, Graham Carlo, drummer, became a good friend. He was the first member of the band that I met, and it was his drumming that sort of gave me some belief. I'm going to turn my light on. Shall I do that, or does it not matter?
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's
and
fine.
Yeah, so I did feel guilty. Maybe I still do, that I moved to London and left Graham in Brighton.
Right.
And that's when I moved to Great Russell Street and found this studio that was £65 a week under the museum bookshop. And that was, literally a stone's throw from the borderline where we began to kind of shape our craft.
Yes.
Yeah.
And were you part of that kind of world? I don't know if I did this last time. That scene, that these sort of bands like that scene, the kind of the slightly squat scene from North London.
What's it called?
Yeah. He was in the Faith Healers,
Yeah.
Joe Dilworth, and then he was. Then there was people like Silverfish, and then Lush.
Yeah.
And that next wave of bands who started to appear. Were you part of that scene that was kind of...
I think that was slightly before us.
Right.
I am a good friend with Johnny Brown, who's from the band of Holy Joy.
Yes, Johnny's got a book out, hasn't he?
That was more... Well, he's the only living boy in New Cross, apparently. That song's about him, I think.
Right.
So...
And were you part of the Camden scene as well?
Only in so much as we started to get asked to do more concerts, we were like, fuck, it was the whole Britpop world, wasn't it?
It was.
With menswear. And so we did become, I guess we were part of it. And we played all the venues that are not...
And did you get, swept in that? Because there was bands like Space, weren't they, from Liverpool, and then My Life Story a bit later. I mean, everyone just slung them all together and said, that's Britpop. These are the John Major years. Love it up, baby.
Well, Space have always been very nice to us. So I think they liked us. And we played a few festivals where they've been there, and like one of them's got ginger hair.
Right.
So he thought it would be necessary for him to show us his gingerness. It was throughout, not just on his head.
God, delightful.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that was nice.
You're not sure where to look, really, but it's one way to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I know. But today I did actually find a picture of Cocky Young'un, who was one of our Spectral roadies, pretending to play the guitar at the LA2 when we did actually support My Life Story.
No,
I know I might have said it was normally people supported us because we had this atmosphere of having already established ourselves, maybe because we were named after a famous magician. But at that concert, we supported them, and Cocky Young'un harboured a desire to be a guitarist, so he was just miming during the gig for one song, and it was lovely.
Yes, and and also just because I do remember going to see My Life Story, and a band called Minty was supporting them, and there was that whole little Lee, is it Bowery scene?
Yeah.
Was did you slip into that kind of dressing up funkiness of London at the time?
I think because Matthew Gilmore, who I think was at least one of the core members of Minty, he was also running a club called Smashing,
Right.
just off Regent Street, and it used to have that lovely dance floor that would rise up, and I think might be the one Pulp used in a video, but Smashing was there, and Matthew was great. I loved his eccentric Englishness, which may have transformed lately, but then it was just kind of abundant and interesting, and he was very nice about us, and I think I maybe thought, oh, I've got to up my game and sort of become more flamboyant rather than just vaudevillian.
Yes.
So there was a bit of PVC and leopard print crept into my...
Oh, but that was the scene where lounge became a big thing, wasn't there? There was that lounge world. There was, I think, well, Austin, I don't know, Austin Powers hadn't happened.
And Bikini Beach, I think they were called, something like that.
Right.
I still bump into them, and they were very nice. As I say, you know, we kind of made up what we were, and it would change week to week. We called it Camp Victorian, but we're expert enough to like be a lounge band or be Mike Flowers. We could only be us.
Yes.
And and I was trying to remember the name of the synth thing. It might have been there was Romo, but I think there was a synth thing as well.
Oh, there was Romo.
Yeah.
I think that was one of those ones that only lasted 2 weeks, though, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, that might explain why our first single on Arista was Cookie.
Right.
Which I firmly believed, you know, this is bringing together all the best bits of Roxy music, new wave. It's a fucking great single. I'm so proud of this. And it didn't really gain any traction. I remember we made a like half-hour film for it. I thought this is going to blow the minds off the music press, you know, because it was just so Roxy music, absurd. But it took Ginger, which is much more kind of instantly, I get the meaning, accessible.
Right.
Yeah.
And at that stage, were you able to do music as a full-time occupation or interest? Or
I think we did. Well, we did get an advance from Arista. So, it was full-time. And prior to that, I mean, I was still doing bits as an illustrator.
Right.
And, but I always saw myself as this sort of like weird time-traveling illustrator. I wasn't trying to be trendy. It was like I was H.G. Wells illustrator. So it kind of fitted in with, and the band always have had lots of imagery and text and drawing. So, you know, I didn't kind of notice if they were conflicting. But
so you went back to London in 93, did you say, or 92?
I think it was about, I can't remember exactly, I need to research, but it was about 92, 93. And I did feel a bit, I still carry a little bit of guilt that I left Graham in Brighton. But had I not gone to London, we would never have sort of developed as a band, because I found a very cheap studio near the British Museum, and that was very near a venue called the Borderline.
Right.
And so I was able to just like wander in off the street and, we've got this band and we do vaudevillian theatrical art pop. And we played there several times, and it was because of that we got signed to Humbug Records, who had people like Louis Philippe and they were re-releasing The King of Luxembourg, and they really loved our eccentric Englishness.
Yes, that's right, isn't it? Yes, the King of Simon Fisher Turner.
Yeah.
God, he is so cool. And also
Yeah.
Colin Lloyd Tucker.
Oh, yeah, he was on Humbug.
He was also
Yeah.
on that, and he did that collaboration with Simon, didn't he? Where they dressed up as two French women and managed to pull that off. There was a lot of expansiveness. I think was that the time before My Life Story and Minty and
No, it was the same time we kind of merged into them, but we didn't know of them when we were starting out. And then people began to say, "Oh, do you know My Life Story?" We knew Minty because we used to play at Smashing, and Matthew Glamore was one of the promoters of that club.
And did you come across Lee? Was it Lee Bowery at this time?
Only through, well, he wasn't a friend, but I know he was a friend of Matthew's and that scene. Yeah.
So with your band that you then sort of got together in London, was this with Foz?
Foz joined in Brighton, yeah.
And then the Colonel, and then Professor.
Yeah, well, Professor formed the band with me. He would come round to my house, or I lived underneath two old ladies called Dolly and Ivy, and they used to like us playing music. They thought it was comforting somehow to know that was someone nice was making nice music. Yes. But and then a friend said to me that the guitarist from the Monochrome set is looking for a singer. And when I was in the sixth form, I loved the Monochrome set. I saw them on a program called Eastern Eye, and Foz was in them at that time. So I was excited, and then one day I was in a photocopy shop, and this man said to me, "Oh, are you Mikey?" Because he saw my drawing of a man with a donkey head, and I'd painted this giant mural in a car park in Brighton. So he kind of knew that I'd done that. And then I said, "Oh, are you Foz?" And so that's how we met.
What a beautiful moment to come together.
Yeah, it was nice.
So then 95 was when on Humbug you released Pimlico.
Yeah.
And this was it, really. So did you feel like you were major players in the scene at this point?
I think we just really enjoyed what we were doing and didn't know about a scene. I think we became more aware of a scene maybe 96, and so there was Britpop, but there was also the kind of electro thing. I've forgotten what it was called. So there were lots of trendy gigs in Brighton that we were kind of drawn into.
Well, the Levelers weren't in your orbit, were they?
No. Jeremy was 2 years above me at my school.
Right.
And he often cites the fact that my dad saved him because my dad was an art teacher at that school. And he's been very kind to my mum. My dad died a couple of years ago, and Jeremy wrote to my mum. And so it's quite weird. In fact, this is slightly tangential, but you know the mural I painted, this big mural, I got a phone call when I was a young student saying, "Oh, what do you think about the Levelers posing in front of your mural for their publicity photos and not giving you any money?" And I said, I think I said they were cheeky, and I went to college, and I was on page 3 of the Argus, local artist, student, Brands Levelers cheeky. And so, yeah.
Yes,
it was a small world.
It is a small world. It just reminded me that Pete Frampton's dad was an art teacher, wasn't he? Where David Bowie went to school, and
oh, that's right, yeah.
And then that's why Pete played guitar, and then there's always that connection with Frampton. So
and guitars that you blow, is that him?
Yes, the one where he had the yeah, that one. Franklin
Yeah,
Comes Alive, that strange, funny instrument. Thankfully, it didn't catch on after that particularly
the talk
iconic
box.
recording. I don't know what it was, but it was unnecessary, wasn't it? Really. But that was the
Yeah,
70s for you, so
yeah,
it had its moments, but that was all
yeah,
good. So then, once you got because your first album was on or singles on Humbug, then you went
yeah.
to Kindness Recordings to do.
Well, between then we went to. We were signed by Rhythm King, who then took us to Arista because the directors of Rhythm King, who had Echo Belly and other people,
They were quite happening, weren't they, for that
yeah.
moment?
But Arista said, "Oh, we want you," so they took us to Arista, and we went to Arista, which started off very much like fun, but then the people that took us there disappeared, so we were left with all these very corporate people, and it wasn't fun because they had no idea of what to make of what we were doing, so it
Yeah.
became less fun.
I would
Yeah,
imagine. So they let you go and say, "Look,
yeah. I mean, we there was talk that we were going to go to EMI, but we released the second album. It was just as the internet became this place where you could do things, and it felt like a success releasing it ourselves with our management through the internet. That was
yeah,
shiny on the inside. Yeah, and
yes." So that point, because that was your second, but had you already recorded? What was Work, Love Life, and Miscellaneous? Was that your first album?
yes, that was Arista, but we had kind of recorded an album's worth of stuff for Humbug, and that some of that has come out on the Lost World of David Devant and His Spirit Wife.
My God, there's a lot of archiving to be done, isn't
Yeah,
there, really? Did you kind of keep your enthusiasm up during all this kind of comings and goings with record labels, management?
absolutely. It's funny. I sort of think, oh, I was never driven by an urge to be famous. Just loved making records
Yes.
and recording. So anything that has enabled me to keep doing that, which really is why I love working with António Olaio, who's over in Portugal, because he's quite similar to me. He loves making records and recording, and
Yeah. So
I
you
mean,
got this compilation. But just to finish up your your first band or your this
yeah,
band, did you go you were you were ideal for the Britpop period because it was very
yes,
frivolous and full of darlings and lots of money and cocaine, wasn't there? There was the £1 Million Poet, wasn't it?
yeah.
Murray Lackland Young,
Oh,
who
yes,
I saw supporting My Life Story,
yeah,
and he was a cheeky chap who's turned out to
yeah.
be a lovely person, and he probably was
Oh,
in the beginning,
yeah.
but I guess when you're young and you're being given him £1 million as a poet, it might go
It's
to
amazing. Yeah,
the thought of it. And that new Labour period and, Cool Britannia
yeah,
and stuff like that. Did did that sort of help feed your kind of creative enthusiasm and slight arrogance at times? Because obviously when you're doing things and it's getting released and you're getting
yeah.
publicity, it must feel very enjoyable.
Well, I don't like to be. Yeah, it's very easy with hindsight, but I would say I felt uneasy about the Cool Britannia, and it was frustrating that the record industry slowed down our place in that. And do you know Michael Bracewell's book England Is Mine?
Yes.
And so that to me was very exciting. That was from Goldie to Roxy Music, and that was the idea. He talks about this eccentric Englishness, and that became a Cool Britannia. And you've got, no disrespect to them, but bands like Cast, were not really the sort of bands that fed my enthusiasm for music
But they're kind of
making.
meat and potatoes, aren't they?
Yeah. So
Sunday roast.
yeah. So Britannia did become a bit meat and potatoes and not very ineffable. And we are definitely driven by ineffable pop, which is what I was saying about What a Waste and Rock Lobster. They're just, you can't quite put your finger on those, what it is. And Pajama Rama by Roxy Music. I don't know if you know, Phil Manzanera was going to produce our first album.
No.
And we went to his studio, which used to be Godley and Creams. And yeah, it closed down a year later, but and it was the first place that was like, oh, we've got a computer studio. And he was super, super lovely. He came to our concerts and was glamorous. But we decided he wasn't quite right, and we went with Warren Livesey. And that is something I carry. Warren was amazing, but I kind of think, wow, Roxy Music, because I still love Roxy Music's first 3-4 albums.
Yes.
And also Phil Manzanera was a friend of the great bass player from Soft Machine, whose name's just gone out of my head, Kevin Ayres.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So you could have
Yeah.
brushed up against that.
Yeah. But at Phil Manzanera's studio, he had a shrine to Roxy Music with his Diamante sunglasses. And I sort of feel a bit ashamed of myself. I was like, oh, well, I've tried these on. Thanks, Phil. It wasn't that basic. But he was so nice. Yeah.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yes, those moments. So with the band you had, which was sort of pottering along quite nicely, were you also doing much creative artwork as well? Were you balancing the two?
Well, when we first started, I had an exhibition on the King's Road. There was a gallery underneath. Well, it was actually, I don't know how they fitted it in. It was on the Methodist Church on the King's Road. So I was painting then. And then we had a band exhibition in Brighton at a place called Camp Classics. But I suppose the art fed into the concerts for a while. And then as the Devant touring became less prolific, I became more interested in, moving that into art.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy touring?
Yes. Well, some of our tours, we used to love our crew, and we get on very well with the sound, and everyone. It was like being in a traveling circus.
Yes.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
And did you do many as the headline, or were you often the support band?
We tended to be the headline. This was a weird thing, people would support us. We were Cooler Shakers supported us.
Right.
And I remember this sort of imp-like person on the front of the stage while we were sound checking. I was like, why is this person on the front of the stage? And it was Mr. Mills trying to hassle us off. And their set was cut short because someone set the fire alarm off. And, some people say it might have been someone in our crew.
Yes.
Yeah, we played with The One Who Dies, people like, there were lots of, but we did support Ian Jury actually at the Forum, but we didn't do as much supporting as might have been necessary. So people would support us.
Right.
And there was something strange about the fact that we were this sort of magic phenomenon art theatre that made us appear bigger. So, you should support David Devant. Yeah.
Yes. So when did your next project? Because you've got a hell of a lot of projects, haven't you? You still did
Yeah.
an album in 2019, Cut Out and Keep Me. But when did the
Yeah.
Middle People start? When did this project
Well,
start?
I think it was only just over a year ago, really, because António Olaio, he's an artist like me. We both do academic stuff. But I mean, in academia, I am seen as quite strange. But I've done some brilliant things, performative keynote speeches, because I work with people that do get me. But generally, it's like, what? But so he is similar to me in that sense. And then so I went to a show that he was performing with Richard Strange, who was in
Oh, yes,
band.
Doctors of Madness.
Yes, and there was a 2-man play in Old Street, and I just thought Antonio was really intriguing. Seemed to get sort of Dadaist joy to him, which I definitely connected to.
Had you worked with anybody else like that before?
I think not so regularly. I collaborated with Jyoti Mishra, who was Whitetown,
Right.
and he helped me start my other side project called Carfax, and I had a song called Going to London, which I still love, and Jermaine Greer, and so I love collaborating. I like responding to someone else and entangling, and not really sort of
Well, how long
critique.
did Carfax last for?
Well, Carfax is still, every now and then I'll think of something and I'll think, oh, I'll release that as Carfax. So, yeah.
Because you've got quite a few bits here, haven't you? You've got glam shops.
It's terrible because I mean I have done. Mr. Solo was a project I did that actually was very invigorating, and I had some sort of radio hits with Mr. Solo. I had a song called "Kiss It Better" and a song called "Homesick Home."
Right.
And I mean that was almost like I saw myself as a kind of martyr pop star, and it was like, you're going to go out by yourself with audio visuals in a skin tight sparkly catsuit, and it's going to be hard but joyful because it was just me with all this technology. And
did you manage to play live much at this day? Were these kind of events that you put together?
Yeah, well, I did a lot of performances as Mr. Solo in different art venues, concerts, and but I wasn't very good at keeping track. Someone would ask me and I'd go and do it, yeah.
But then after that, you collaborated, was it Eddie Argos to create Glam Chops?
That's right, forgotten about them. Eddie became a dear friend. That was a great story because I came home from a rehearsal and I turned on the radio and I heard "Look at Us, we formed a band," and I thought, oh, that's like someone's written something about David Devant and his Spirit Wife, because our whole ethos was, look at us, we formed a band. Isn't it magical? Isn't it weird? So we were kind of playing with being pop stars, famous pop stars, before we were famous pop stars, magic. And then the next morning, a man called Steve Fishman, who was called Mr. Major Talent, and he was our kind of fictional manager.
Yes.
said, "Oh, I've got you a gig at the Tate with Art Brew," and I don't normally like a lot of current music, so it was quite funny to go to bed having heard it, then wake up. Steve said, "You're doing a gig at the Tate with that band," and we became good friends because Eddie liked David Devant His Spirit Wife growing up, and yeah.
Blimey, God!
And we
Did
did
you
play at the
ever
time.
record anything as Glam Chops?
Yes, I mean I can delve and find our archives. Tim Orchard was one of the other guitarists. He lives in Bath, and he is like a glam aficionado, a glam connoisseur,
Right.
and so he did compile our recordings. Of course, we were most famous for our Christmas songs because we were glam.
Excellent. Oh, was that Countdown to Christmas and Baby Jesus was the first glam record?
Oh yeah. That was mine, but Tim wrote "Countdown to Christmas," and I envy his ability to write a good glam song. He also wrote a song called "Don't Be Glum, Be Glam," which occasionally I would think, well, that's one of the best pop songs ever written, you know. But I don't think we ever recorded it properly.
Oh, it's a shame, isn't it?
I'll find it, and if I do remember, I will send
Yes.
you a
Well, it would
copy.
be, right. So after that, then you collaborated with Rob Jones.
Oh, I love Rob Jones. I mean, Rob was so lovely to work with. He worked on my second Mr. Solo album, and essentially, it was a bit like I was saying. I worked with Antonio. Rob didn't question anything I did. He just encouraged me, play that instrument, and we used to record very near a roti shack. So anything good now between me and Rob when we converse is roti, you know, roti vibes.
Yes.
Um,
Excellent. So you
yeah,
did one album with him.
yeah, and Rob is younger. I don't know. He's at least 10 years younger than me, but it's kind of like he picked up the C86 vibe, but that generation of musicians, but they kind of honed it and had a bit more poise. I mean, he is actually extremely talented musician.
Yeah. So you did a solo album. You did a new solo, the Simply the Best. Is this all new material
Uh,
in
m-
21?
is this Mikey George? Yeah. So instead of being called Mr. Solo, I passed an ice cream van called Mr. Mikey, and I took a picture of myself in front of it and said, "Oh no, I'm no longer Mr. Solo, I'm Mr. Mikey," and that was the cover. And because on the ice cream van it said "Simply the Best," I thought, well, that's the name of the album then. So, yeah.
Yes, I could imagine. It's very fluid, isn't it? It's very spontaneous.
Yeah, well, I think it's like weaving yourself into real life as a kind of joyful fiction.
Yes.
Yeah, which makes it easier, I
'Cause
suppose.
there's a few people I've spoke to whose slight regret, frustrations have been when they were working on an album, it just took too long. They didn't get it over with, but
Yeah,
the longer it went on,
yeah,
the worse it got. But the emotional memory of it, is
yeah,
scarred. Whereas obviously you just work very quick and then move on to the next thing.
yeah. I mean, maybe it's funny. Right at the beginning, you were saying about like buying albums and just liking one track, and I like to every album. I think I've tried to make all the tracks good, and I've always had this desire. I want to make an album that's quite boring, apart from one or two tracks. Like that's like a real album. It's like, yeah,
Hmm.
just I don't think I'm very good at doing really boring tracks, like album fillers. So that could be my next project.
Rejected songs. It must be strange thinking I'm just going to write a song that's going to get rejected or be a B-side, rather than thinking I'll do my best.
Yeah.
I don't. As an
Yeah.
artist, do you ever think, yeah, this is a bit crap, but that's fine, that'll be the B-side, or do you think, I don't know, that's done?
Yeah, well, David Devant and his Spirit Wife are kind of renowned for putting our best tracks on B-sides. There's a song we do called Life on a Crescent, and that's like the climax of a lot of our shows. Everything fits into place. Easy being sleazy, which those songs, there are fans that they're their favourite songs, but we put them on the B-side. Yeah.
Yes. Did you ever, because I know you got slightly lumped into a scene because everyone likes
Yeah.
creating a scene. I know with My Life Story, they had a very orchestral, lots of
Yeah.
dressing up, lots of costume changes. And
Yeah.
they kind of sold their soul to the devil, really, because they did 2 albums, which were great. And then they went, right, we're just going to have to do a Brit poppy Oasis type thing. And it was like, oh, why did you do
Yeah.
that? I mean, David Bowie always was saying that, the minute you pander to the audience or you pander to
Yeah.
other people, that's going to be your worst work. And
Yeah.
it was, Jake, he lost it. Do you always do music for yourself first, and then if anyone likes it, that's fine?
It's a bonus. Yeah, I absolutely, because I love it so much. It's like part of the reward is the song itself. It's like, wow, that's really good. I love that moment of, oh, is this going to work? Is this song as good as I want it to be? And but there was a brief moment when we were on Arista, and there's the record company, and you can feel them wanting you to be more Britpop. And it's like, off the top of my head, I don't think we thought, oh, let's do a song that's meat and potatoes.
Yes. What
Yeah,
comes first, the imagery, like the ice cream van, or does the title
yeah,
come first, or the melody? I
yeah,
mean, how do you sort of compose a track, a
yeah,
song?
yeah. I think, well, obviously, I continue to learn about songwriting, but I think mainly I love refrains. Like we're making it up as we go along, but I've got better lyrically, and so I used to sort of have a refrain, and I'd write a song from that, and then add the lyrics into that. But with Mr. Solo, I started to write more lyrics in more sort of flowing. I got interested in people like Bob Dylan, who wrote lots of lyrics,
Yeah.
and then which I didn't do at first, So
Did you, when you were sort of in the band, did you play the character a bit like Ziggy Stardust? Did you sort of think, right, I'm no longer Mikey, I'm going to be David? And
um,
and did you sort of channel the spirit of the character and the idea of
yeah,
him?
I think recently I said it's kind of like my pathology. It's like because I have that strong memory of being in the garden dressing up, and it's like it's not a character. It's just it's being in life. I'm. It's a different frequency to sitting at the desk doing your accounts, but
Yeah.
it's and in sometimes I think, oh, I really wish it was a character so that I could be more calculated, like David Bowie, who was very strong-minded, knew where he wanted to go. But I'm kind of improvising and putting myself in a situation which is not particularly calculated. It's yeah, Yeah, I mean, and it is, like you say, it's a bigger version, but it doesn't feel like a character.
Yeah. No, it's because with the middle, was it? The
Yeah,
middle
the middle
people.
people.
So
Yeah.
you got together literally 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and now you're getting a compilation best of out in
Yeah.
2026. So so you've done 3 albums already?
Well, the third one was a Christmas album. Yeah, and that was, we did a little tour in Portugal, and at the end of it, we're sitting having a lovely sardine lunch, and this man next to us got talking about music, and for some reason, the little drummer boy came up, and I said, "Oh, I think that's an amazing record." And then the next sentence is, "Oh, we should record that. No, we should do a Christmas album." And Antonio thought I meant next year, but I meant this year. So at the end of last year, we, created a Christmas album.
I mean, that was very, very fast, actually.
Yeah.
Does that something that you both enjoy, that sort of speed of work?
Yeah. I mean, I think hopefully it's not, we don't lower our standards, but it's like what comes out and how can we make what comes out as good as possible, rather than thinking, oh, what is this mastermind plan I have for an amazing, yeah. So, yeah, working with what you've got.
Yes.
And I
So the
think,
first album,
but yeah,
I was going to
sorry.
say, the first album you brought out then, is it Revenge of the Killjoys?
Yeah.
And
And yeah, that's the first one. The second one that got kind of swallowed up by our Christmas album, but was actually before that, was Dogmatists in Disguise.
right.
And yeah.
Blimey, yes, that is fast and furious. So why have you decided to bring a best of out so quickly?
I
This
think it's
It's not the end of
partly,
the project.
no, no. Um, well, like a classic best of, it did allow us to record 3 new songs. So there's some bands that release best of, and you think, oh, that's not actually an album, is it? That's a best of. So I I think we both enjoy being within the sort of the syntax of pop, and the you're exploiting your fans. You're releasing this thing, but at first I was like, oh, is this a good idea? But then reappraising the songs was something I enjoyed very much.
Yes.
It
So
was
it
good.
opens with "Can You Feel the Moment?" So is this
Yeah,
one of the new songs
that's a new song. Yeah.
and going to be the new single?
Yes.
Right. So that was, and how did that one come about?
Yeah. Well, good question. I think I was reading The Outsider by Colin Wilson.
Right.
And so I think that originally was going to be called the Ultimate Yes, because he talks about this sort of positive kind of creativity as a riposte to like the nausea of existentialism and everything's meaningless, And I think that the middle people in some ways are a riposte to that. We're like, well, everything's meaningless, or we'll just enjoy this. And but then I have a musician friend called Tim Parks who, I think he sent me a message, and it contained the words, "Can you feel the moment?" And I thought, oh no, that's a much better chorus line. So I put that in, and I kind of like the way it felt like a dance record, because I love some of those early dance house classics.
What with big pianos?
Yeah, big pianos. Also, the arpeggio that I've got in "Can You Feel the Moment?" That
Yes.
that um, I want your love, or yeah,
Yeah, that always had that little suspension of moment where you just know the beat is going to come back, but you have
yes,
a little
yeah,
break and a little bit of
yeah.
a,
So I
yeah,
quite like the fact that it is kind of a hybrid of that sort of music, and it contains the lyric, "Can you feel the moment?" which is quite potentially corny,
but
which I suppose we enjoy. But like, can you take something cheesy and make it feel real and uplifting
yeah.
and not cheap?
Did you take many tracks from your second album for the compilation? Because there's a few that, like, Do You Want to Be Right or Do You Want to Be Happy? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's the second album. Yeah,
that doesn't come onto the best of, does it?
I think that's on the best of.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, right. It's the third song.
yeah. That's the dance. We sort of discovered dance more, but the whole project is a bit EDM, I think. But I got to a point where I didn't, because I used to worry about, I don't know anything about genre via BPM, because genres can be defined by BPM and blah blah blah, and
That's
it
right.
used to worry me. And then I just thought, no, I don't care anymore. Um, I'll just this is EDM. So,
Yeah. So do you there's a sweet little number here, Rush Hour in the Studio.
yeah.
Where did that idea come from?
Well, Antonio wrote the lyrics and sent me. He sort of sang a vocal line, and I built the track around it. So that's a lovely way of making a record, is to just make the music around the vocal without knowing. And I think originally Antonio was thinking I was going to like play guitar on something, but I just thought no. And it was something about him that made me think. I think I pictured as a bit like Dieter Meyer, Yellow. We're
Yeah.
we're kind of like, oh, I get us. We're like Yellow. Um, so yeah, but with like less expensive equipment.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yes. So Things Change, is that going to be another one of the singles from the album?
I mean, we made a video for it, and so I think, yeah, technically it is a single, and that
And you've
that
got the
was, yeah.
professor, have you got the professor on drums with this one?
Yes, yeah. Graham remains very up for collaborating on musical projects, and we did have a very. I've worked with lots of drummers, but me and Professor have a very strong musical affinity, which is almost, evangelistic. It's like as soon as we were together making music, it felt like a good thing, like we
Yeah.
got each other. I've
Just,
got your back, that kind of.
yeah, it's like there's often like Elvis Costello always works with Steve Naive, who was his keyboard player, and
Yeah,
I think they've been together from the late 70s and they're still together now. And
yeah,
he's obviously been through a lot of musicians. So often it's often one person that you kind of feel like there's something deep and meaningful in the relationship. So
yeah,
it's a nice way to do. Did you take much time with your track listing for the compilation? Because you finished with Dancing My Way to the Sky and then
yeah.
God's Planet. Is there a connection with that?
Um, it was all very intuitive, yeah, but it's yeah, because I think had we thought about it, we might have belabored it, but clearly there are threads running through it. Um,
So was there a spiritual element to that Dancing My Way to the Sky?
I mean, I think like all of our songs, they're not good or bad, and we're not saying the spiritual's good. It's kind of like it's there, and you can make of it what it's a thing. What is this thing, and is it good or is it bad? And I think Antonio more than me was worried about that, because it's um, Portugal is more strongly overtly Catholic, and so he thought, oh no, someone might be upset because I took the nails from my hands, so I could
Yes.
start dancing. And we don't talk about the fact that we're both Catholic and we both love sort of aesthetic sumptuousness and absurdity. We try not to talk about it. And that's the vibe. We just know it's there.
There's a lot of parading though, isn't there, and sort of performance
Yeah.
and
And
ritual.
yeah. And I suppose that is, like my character. I don't see it as a character. It's ritual. And because, my personal spectrum means that that's how I feel part of the world through putting clothes on, being in a ritual, singing, doing, yeah.
And
But
last track, God's Planet. What's the story with this one?
I love the story of that track. I did actually do a more kind of instantly palatable poppy version of it, but the version that's on the best of, it's my son playing the guitar, and I will be honest with you, I for medical reasons I have a condition called fibromyalgia, which is like a lot of pain. So on Christmas Day, I thought I'll medicate, and my good friend didn't tell me this is not the sort of medication you're used to, and I was really rather stoned in a way that was exuberant and funny to my family. I was like, "Oh, Dad's stoned." Like really, I was dreaming standing up, and
On Christmas Day.
on Christmas Day. Yeah, it was all manageable. But after dinner, my son was playing a guitar riff, and I got out my synthesizer, and that, the song's got this weird stuttering synth all the way through, which is, it felt psychedelic to me, and it was a very, very joyful moment. And I just sent the music to Antonio, and he came back with God's Planet. So it's kind of like this weird cosmic psychedelic. It's like there's a cosmic dread to it. It's like this overbearing, So it was very joyful. That's
a hell of a story behind the song.
Yeah, I'm not condoning that you should over-medicate on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I mean, it's often, not a day people normally choose, but, hey ho.
I mean, I suppose it's only interesting because I'm not the sort of person that you would expect to do that. It was a sort of fluky accident.
Yes, I know. Well, it's great it happened actually. Warmer in the middle of the road. This one, which is one of the tracks, I think that's like your 7th track. How did this number come together?
Yeah. Well, the song's about taking the train from Tbilisi to Kutaisi in Georgia, and we couldn't get any tickets. And then I said to my friend Lardo, who's from Tbilisi, we should go back to the station. And they gave us these tickets on a very, very old train. And it was like someone had thrown on a special Soviet-era demonstration.
Right.
So it was amazing. The train would stop very often for cigarette breaks and, all these crew in white shirts and ties and lots of different characters. And it was very rich, intense experience. On the way back, we were on a sort of aircon train and no one looked at each other. Everyone stayed in their seats. So I loved that, the vibrancy of this old Soviet-era train journey.
Right.
And in the song, it talks about Marcel lost his phone by the river because we had the stop, and this poor guy from Switzerland, the train set off, and he's going, I left my phone by the river. So then the guard's going, oh, I know a man who can get it for you for 30 lari. And so it became a whole negotiation.
God.
And so the song's about that. And Lardo, who I was with, is a fan of the Fall.
Yeah.
Again, he's kind of the last person you'd expect to be a fan of the Fall, which is, I think, why parts of that song I have sort of Marky Smith inflections. I'm finding it wasn't easy. So,
Right. So you were
yeah,
channeling the
I
spirit.
was channeling because it was, I fairly recently, realised what a genius Marky Smith is. And when I was very young, I thought, oh no, they're not proper songs. But so, the song is a bit of a homage to that. And I'd also listened to something about how Satisfaction was written as a horn section, but played on the guitar. So I thought, I want to do that. I want to write a song with a horn section riff, but not play it on horns. So the song's all, it's a riff.
Incredible. And the
Yeah.
other Wrong Number, how did
Yeah.
this number sort of originate?
Well, that's pure António Olaio Dadaist joy, and it's a very minimal lyric. The verses are literally phone numbers, which excited me a lot. The challenge of creating a track where the verses are just phone numbers, and then the chorus I get to sing a bit, Michel n'est pas là, elle a allé chez moi, and I sing the French bits in the chorus, and Antonio goes, "Oh, it's so funny because you've got an English accent," and I said, "No, that I'm really good at French."
Excellent. So was it to do with thwarted erotic phone calls as numbers?
I think there is definitely. Well, is it anything to do with us being Catholic? But both Antonio and I do have a sort of erotic thread to it's gently erotic in a lot of the lyrics, I suppose. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. No, I think maybe it's more overt in Antonio's. I don't know. But it's definitely in that song, yeah.
Nice. And Hello John,
Yeah.
where did this song come from?
Yeah, that was the first song that we worked on together. And I had the sound file for that song for months, actually. And Antonio, I think, wanted me to, as I say, play some guitar on it. But I heard it and thought, oh, I must do this song. And then as soon as I heard it, I thought, no, I want to make a whole production. And that became The Middle People, because it turned on that EDM thing.
Yes.
And it is a
Oh,
bit of a mean song, but
and that was the
yeah.
So with the two of you now, is it the case that you'll ever sort of play any live dates at all?
Well, we did a couple in London, and then did a few in Portugal, and we did Coimbra, Lisbon, Porto, and they're very well set up for bands like us because we use projections and some backing and some synth, and it was good to play there because it was very easy, and yeah.
Yes.
I love playing, when we did our gigs, it was like, oh, what sort of band are we? Yeah, like, so that was nice.
So
Yeah.
did you get fans who had known your previous work or his previous work or
Well, yeah, I think in Portugal, Antonio is well known, and yeah, especially the gig in Coimbra, Coimbre, Coimbra. I love watching the video of it was at an art theatre, But it was a very joyful climax to that show. It's like everyone seemed to love it. So, yeah.
So what have you got lined up next? What's your next projects that you're doing?
Yeah. Well, we're looking at doing some gigs in England in May. And other than that, we're now thinking about doing a musical together. Because we created this song called Just Be Yourself. Because we were having a moan about someone that we both know in the art world and saying, oh, they weren't very nice, were they? And António said, oh, well, they were probably just being themselves. So we've created a track called Just Be Yourself. And we've kind of agreed, oh, well, that would be a start of a good musical.
Right. Just
So,
what based on an unhappy or unpleasant artist?
yeah, so there's an Anthony Newley film about him as a kind of entrepreneurial performer in Soho. And so I'm, because of my experience of having a studio in that area and mixing with artists, I like the challenge of it.
Yes, Stuart. So he was in Doctor Dolittle. What a
Yeah.
twist. Yes, and this is obviously who David Bowie had sort of slightly borrowed his vocal, hadn't he?
Yeah, yeah. I did
Anthony.
see Anthony Newley at the Green Room, which is in Regent Street. And that was in about 98. And they ushered us in because they thought my girlfriend was his daughter. And they were saying, oh, come and sit here by the front. But it was there that I fully became aware of how much Bowie owed him vocally.
Yes, it was quite. God, you saw Anthony Newley. That's amazing. Did you
Yeah.
see that film which came out by Brett, somebody, Moon Age Daydream, which was his kind of very
Yeah.
impressionistic kind of world of Mr. Bowie.
I don't think I've seen that.
That came out about 3 years ago. It was quite interesting trying
Yeah.
to sort of, it was his kind of, I suppose, his idea of who David Bowie was and his ideas that how he developed it. But Anthony Newley does appear quite a lot
Oh,
in bits and pieces. But yes, Mr.
I,
Newley would have been
I
quite
I
something.
will check that out.
You'll need to check it out. But
Yeah.
I have got it somewhere behind me. But anyway, so you've got that project and any other musical collaborations you've got on the horizon?
Well, I mean, David Devant and his Spirit Wife, we're still doing concerts. Um, I don't think I've got any other projects.
So how do you get to, because I know you've got a Bandcamp page. How do you find out about David Devant?
That's mainly Facebook, David Devant.
Right.
Yeah,
Devant.
mainly. Yeah, Devant. Because I think that, David, we're named after a magician
Yes.
who's Victorian, and I think they pronounce it David Devant. But it's only because I'm good at French that I can't stop myself saying David Devant.
Right.
But I think you should say David Devant, and that is how he would have pronounced it.
Yeah. Well, so you've got a gig on the 8th of May coming up.
Yeah,
And
that's
then is it just, is the professor in the band still?
yes, with the same lineup, the Colonel and Foz question mark.
And is there
Yeah.
lots of dressing up?
Well, we don't have the spectral roadies, but we still make show, as the Beatles used to say. Yeah.
Yes. And
And
what sort of are these old friends or are they people that are discovering the band for the first time?
I think it's a mixture. We are blessed, as I say, with is it a cult following? They are. I think they're people. A lot of them they've discovered it in the 90s, or were like, oh, I should have discovered that band, and are now discovering us. Because, the last few gigs we've done are sort of moderate sized venues, 100 Club, Water Rats, and it always seems to be a different crowd.
Yes.
But I think these days a lot of the gig going public are a bit older, or they buy the tickets quicker. So
That's
the
cool.
youngsters get shoved out.
Poor little dears, aren't
Yeah.
they? Anyway, they'll get there. So you got this one on the 8th, and
Yeah.
then
I think
and
we've got
then
one on the 8th and one on the 9th. We're doing Ramsgate
that's right.
musical, and we're doing the Piper
As
in
well.
Hastings.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
quite good, actually. Yes. Do you sell much on the merch front at those gigs?
We have done, because lots of people said, oh, you're not doing any T-shirts. So I, as a kind of labour of love, my son helped me hand print some T-shirts, and over a number of nights and driving to buy T-shirts, we made some T-shirts, which was fun.
Nice.
Which is, it's a bit like having a record. Oh, got a T-shirt, got a record. It's
You need to identify with the band.
Yeah.
It's important as a fan, to be announcing who your sort of people
Yeah.
are.
Well, I think my sons, because we, Franz Ferdinand, are fans of David Devant, so they invited me along, and my sons were really into the T-shirts, and that made me think, yeah, come on, let's do that. Because it cheers you up.
Well, yes, in this day and age, that's a good thing. But look, this compilation is coming out. This is in May now, isn't it? I believe.
Yeah, 1st of May.
1st of May. And is it going to be available via Bandcamp?
Yes, it's going to be on all the horrible corporate streaming platforms from the 1st of May.
Right.
Which is when we'll make it available on Bandcamp
And
as
it'll be available as a CD as well.
I hope so, yes.
Because I think your other ones, but not vinyl.
No, we haven't got as far as vinyl yet.
It's just one of those things. But also on your Bandcamp page, you do also have the Mr. Solo, don't you?
There's and Carfax. Yeah.
Good old Bandcamp. Do you find much traffic going via Bandcamp?
There can be, yeah. If I've done something that triggers it, we'll get some traffic, yeah. But you've got to stay on it, haven't you?
Well, this is true. Otherwise, one just disappears. But anyway, you've got 2 live gigs coming up and this compilation, and then hopefully a musical as well.
Yeah.
There you go. Are you still teaching at university?
Yeah. I do fine art in East London. I'm on the fine art MA, helping, and I've always that kind of lecturing is not a hardship. It's interesting, because you meet different people. Yeah,
keeps you young, I guess.
Yeah.
I know. I think Pete Astor, who was in the Weather Prophets, I think he was a lecturer at London University doing music.
Yeah.
If you were Pete Astor, but quite a lot of it's surprising how many people from the world of the C86 have went on to be teachers or lecturers at some such establishment.
I listened to your last show, which I think began with the Flatmates.
Oh yes.
And when I was at Chelsea, we went to see them. I think it was at the Cooler, which was the college bar. And I remember trying to convince the Flatmates to come to our little campus. And that felt very glamorous, talking to a real band.
I know.
It was, so yeah, that
God,
was good.
good times. Yes.
Yeah,
I know, the good old indie world. It was also cheap in those days as well.
yeah. No, it was, and like you say, the flexi disc. And yeah,
And the fanzine.
oh
Um,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
kind of intriguing. But actually, what I found was that, I think one of the reasons there was such a lot of indie bands during that time was there was, as mentioned, the unemployment benefit systems and enterprise
yeah,
allowance. But also, every town and city had an alternative indie night, didn't they? Most on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. And that
yes,
was handy. You also had people like John Peel who would always give people a bit of a spin.
yeah,
And then you had three, weekly music papers that also had huge circulation. So you could almost guarantee 100, 200 people could turn out to see
yeah,
a band, three bands for
yeah,
£2.50 or something. And
yeah,
it just gave the artists, musicians, a bit of enthusiasm to go and do the next single or the next album, or
yeah,
to keep on going a bit longer. And I think because a lot of bands have that 5-year narrative, they get together, 12-month honeymoon period, single, John Peel session, first
yeah,
album, transit band around the countryside,
yeah,
then the second album, the same again, and then
yeah,
they sort of third album, they were often trying to kill each other. There's a sort of a lack of money and a lot of functional behavior, and that was the end of the band.
yeah,
But you got three albums and some good stories for the fans. So it's all that
yeah,
you can hope for. And also, I think when there's another like those youth movements that come through, the next wave of 16, 18-year-olds kind of want their own thing, don't they? They don't want something that's been fondled
yeah,
by somebody else.
yeah.
It's
I think
it's
we were
important.
quite lucky that we had that the Melody Maker were very supportive. Enemy less so because we're quite whimsical, eccentric English nerds, which were at that time was not really NME, which in itself is sort of quite interesting because you don't get that kind of split anymore.
No.
And yeah, so it was lovely to have that realm that that carried us along, like you say. It's like, and there was even, I'd be having an argument with John Robb about moustaches, and and then we had to cancel a gig because I got food poisoning, and that was a news-worthy thing. Uh, yeah,
Yes, John Robb.
it was
From
in.
the Membranes.
Ah, what was that? The
John Robb, was this the guy from the Membranes?
Goldblade. It was
Oh,
his band. Yeah, yeah,
Gold Blade.
yeah. They were
Oh,
kind of in that sort of theatrical Brit pop with My Life Story, but I think a bit more punky.
right.
Yeah,
John. Oh, John Robb. Oh,
yeah,
that is the same guy who
yeah,
was. He's a writer. He does a lot of books on bits
yeah.
and pieces, but he was in the Membranes as well.
Okay, yeah,
He must have been quite intimidating to talk to because he's quite a big chap.
yeah.
Anyway, you held your own, so that's the
Oh,
main.
absolutely. Yeah,
You gave you. He could
yeah,
have also said something in French, and he would never understood.
yeah,
You'd been safe.
yeah.
That's
I
important.
mean, I think David Devant His Spirit Wife taught me about being a band that's not really like a band. Um, like I said, we got on with all our crew, and it was, yeah, more like a travelling nomadic pop region.
Yeah.
We weren't, because I met Suede and they were really like, oh, we're a gang and we don't like you because you're not our gang. And it was like, oh, I didn't get this memo about you have to be a bit of a, rude word
Yes.
if you're a band. It's like, oh, I didn't get that memo.
Yes. They didn't.
Because bands can be like that.
I
Uh,
think in a way, yeah, I think most of those bands at the time probably were very like the rivalry wasn't there. Now I think they play these weekend festivals together, and I think they all are very chatty and happy, and a sort of
Yeah.
regret being such arses when they were
Yeah.
younger
That's the
and
word. Yeah.
and full of attitude, whereas now you just
Yeah.
think, yeah, you should have just been pleasant and would have enjoyed
Yeah.
it more. I think that's the thing most bands have when they've broke up. They just wish they'd sort of enjoyed it more and had just had a
Yeah.
bit more of a nicer time rather than being so angsty. And
Yeah. Well, we definitely enjoyed it. You know, every minute of it. And, you know, we did travel in buses with us all sleeping in our bunks, and so it was fun and
yeah,
surreal. Yeah.
did you manage to take pictures or archive any of your
Yeah.
time?
Yes. But I'm in a kind of creeping up on documenting the archives. But
Did you see the book the Cardiacs had done of
oh
their
no,
time?
I will look into that.
Well, it's an amazing book, but then the publisher, who was in America, decided to fold the company, and I was going to buy a
Yeah.
copy because I'd seen a PDF of it and thought, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
brilliant." And then it's really hard to get hold of, but it is a work of art. But if you know a member of the Cardiacs,
Yeah.
you'll have to ask if they've got a spare copy of it.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I mean, and they're still going, you know. Well,
Wow. Yeah.
part of the band are still
Yeah.
playing live, aren't they? So yes, it keeps on
God.
going. Give the fans what they want, really.
Yeah. 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 Well,
Mm.
I think, you know, I do think with well, both the Middle People and David Devant His Spirit Wife is kind of it's not just the band, it's the vibe with the fans and that region that emerges from the concerts. Yeah.
I think was it Frank Sinatra who said, "My fans are my friends." I think
Yeah.
he said that. I don't know. I might have made it up, but I kind of like that. You know, my fans
Yeah.
are my friends, and it's showbiz, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, it's kind of magic as well. I think that's. I don't want to be so like professional that it's like, you know, I'm just a showbiz man. I'm not that. I'm not kind of clever enough to do that.
Run off stage into a taxi and then speed to the hotel
Yeah, it's just. Yeah,
for party with Mick Jagger and Elton
yeah.
John.
It's yeah. We sort of do it and see what happens.
Did you have any very kind of famous fans, by the way? People sometimes said, "Oh yes, I was at a gig and looked across and David Bowie was watching me." Did you have any of those moments?
Yeah. Well, we did meet lots of famous people. I used to. He's not so famous now, but he's lovely. Is Martin Fry used to come to a lot of our gigs and would always say, "Oh, you know, you're going to be much more famous than me." So, darling, yeah.
Yes.
But, I mean, David Bowie did have the same press team as us, and we were. I don't think we met him at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, but at that time we were both with the same publicity team. So I
Oh,
remember being there, hoping to meet him.
yes. Did you just have to grab some free
Yeah,
CDs?
yeah. It was the Earthling album, which
Oh,
wasn't particularly.
tricky album.
Yeah.
Never mind. Who was his press, or who was your press company at that time?
What were they? I don't think they were called Absolute. Um, it's Neil Cossa used to do
Well,
it. He's from Manchester.
yeah.
Very, very nice man. And he'd
Any,
been in a band, yeah. So it was all, yeah. Betty
like,
Boo used to come to a lot of our stuff, which was nice because she
yeah.
was,
Well, I think she's still doing her thing, isn't she?
yeah,
So I think most people have thought, right, that's it. As I hit retirement, I could just do with a few more years working.
yeah,
This might help me see me over until I get my citizen rail card.
yeah. But yeah, I don't think David Devont, have been part of any nostalgia circuit.
So you've never been on one of those Shine not
Yeah.
albums, tour
Yeah,
weekenders.
we did one sort of indie festival in Hastings. Can't remember what it was called, but yeah, I think partly because we're still trying to be current, you know.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Do you have plans of another album, by the way?
I've always got plans for album. It's just whether I can persuade the others to, yeah, find the time.
Another shot.
Yeah,
It'll be fine.
but
They should do it. It's like, what is the point of life if it's not to make more music, really?
absolutely, yeah,
Got to be done. But
not
look,
complicated.
it's not complicated. You just got to get in there, do it.
Yeah,
Hit record, done.
hit
It's good.
record. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean the project that I missed out was Mikey
Oh,
Georgeson and the Civilized Scene, which I had Simon Breed played guitar on that, and he occasionally sings for the Triffids.
what, the ones from Australia?
Yes, because I think when their singer passed away, they did a concert at the Barbican and asked several singers to
I didn't
take
realise they
on.
was still sort of an ongoing thing, actually. So what was it again, your...
That was Mikey Georgeson and the Civilized Scene.
Yes.
Yeah,
And this was with Mac and Nathan.
that's it. Yeah,
And you did an album, Blood and Brambles.
yeah,
Right, this was 10 years ago, wasn't it?
yeah. And Dave Allen produced that. He was the the Cure man. Yeah, it's a very sumptuous album.
Is this also free or not available, but is it, yes, is it available still?
Yeah, I think that is widely available. And yeah.
God, you have done a lot of work, haven't you? Have you managed to archive all of it?
Only in that I know it's all out there somewhere.
It's there, just
Yeah.
waiting.
It's
God,
like the Blake thing, isn't it? I don't want to reason and judge. I want to create. And I think lately I've begun to get that memo is like, oh, you've got to start archiving and being aware of what I've done. Because
legacy. It's all about legacy.
I'm not particularly. Maybe I didn't get the memo strong enough because, I'm more like me and Antonio. We're more interested in just like making stuff, and maybe the best of was a way of documenting it a bit.
Yeah. So you appeared on one of those Cherry Red compilations, Martin Green present
Yeah,
Supersonics with your
yeah,
track Pimlico.
yeah. That
Yeah.
was what did they call that? Junk shop.
Oh, 40 junk shop Britpop
Yeah,
greats.
yeah.
So you were in that gang, weren't you?
Yeah, but I think a
Making
lot,
sure.
our fans were saying, "You're not junk shop. That's an amazing track," And I
Yes.
found it hard to disagree, actually. But